So he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wounds at least. So when you do your practical, you're going to get one of these wounds, or you may get the butt in a box.
Butt in a box.
Look at that!
Or my friend over here has a tibial wound.
Is that supposed to be the tendon or bone?
It's his sacrum.
So that's the bone.
All right, so what kind of data are we going to want from this? Size. So we're going to need, what's the size?
Length, width,
And
height,
depth. If there's any tunneling.
Centimeter measuring.
Undermining, okay, good.
using the clock as a reference.
Excellent. So if Seymour's here, I'm going to start talking about his bottom with this being what? 12 o'clock. Just because I'm looking at it this way doesn't mean that this becomes 12 o'clock. I'm going to be 12 o'clock anatomically. And so I'm going to start describing it. So I'm going to have a width and a height and a depth to this wound for most of them. I'm so glad you asked.
You gotta have little tools.
I can't remember.
Where did
The
my,
Q-tip. The Q-tip.
where did my
Oh,
swab
right,
go?
and then you measure it.
I just throw it in
mark
here?
it, and then measure it.
Right here.
Are they hiding in here?
Oh, they're right here, Randy. Stick your finger in.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was thinking.
So I can take my swab, my sterile swab, and I can go down here and hold and go, okay, it's about that long, and then I find something that measures. And I hold it here and I go, no, that's 2.2 centimeters.
Okay.
This is a great little tool. When you guys actually do your practical, you'll have one of these. Okay, so it's got inches up one side, centimeters up one side, and a target that goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 centimeters out. All right, so a lot of this is clean and not sterile. Didn't come in my box, so I would have to hold it with my sacrificed hand, and I can put it down here and go, okay, that wound is 5 centimeters across. And
You wouldn't touch the wound with it at
5.4.
all.
I try not to. Some places, some of these products, like this product, came with there's a piece of hydrocolloid dressing in here, and so when it pulls open, the inside is sterile still, right? So they've got their handy-dandy little measuring thing, and what this person did is they pulled it off. It's sterile. They laid it down on this wound, and then they actually traced it. And now they've got this thing that they can come back and take more time measuring and go, okay, it was 1, 2, 3, 4. And they actually have a little, one of the things that most facilities that do a lot of wounds now will take periodic photos of them and then digitize the photo and put it in the chart. So maybe an initial, and every week or 2 weeks, they'll take another photo of that wound.
Is undermining how far it goes underneath?
So undermining is if there's a lip on this. So this, on him, he has a lip underneath there that's about a centimeter all the way around.
So that's undermining.
That's undermining. And then right here, he has a tunnel. There's a tunnel
there's a tunnel.
at 9 o'clock.
Oh,
And
there's
I'm going
one
to
right
stick
there,
this
too.
in up where.
At
So there's a
1
tunnel
o'clock.
there,
So how can you?
and I'm going to measure there.
Oh,
Like
it's
his
the whole-
his tunnel
Wow. Okay.
is
Okay.
almost 4 point.
Okay.
I would do most of your measuring in centimeters and millimeters.
So will you say, oh, sorry, go ahead, Renee.
No, that's okay.
Will you say like tunnel at 1 o'clock?
Yes, tunneling at 1 o'clock, 4 centimeters deep.
Okay.
But tunneling goes down, right? And undermining
down.
goes straight. So if he had that right there, like
Sometimes
a
this will
big
go all the
hole.
way to there.
Yeah, but the
But that would
undermining
be
can go.
Still undermining. Yep.
Right, okay.
Is undermining
But the undermining.
Undermining
there's
is
a lot
fine
of
with the
spots.
edge?
Parallel with the skin.
How would you do the 1 o'clock?
Okay.
Because it's here, here, here.
So not
here. You just
necessarily.
label each one.
Well, I can, if he undermines all the way around, I can say undermining 1 centimeter, the entire circumference. I can say there's undermining, most of the time your undermining is going to be like on one side. So from 7 o'clock to 12 o'clock, there's undermining at this distance. So use your clock. What were you going to ask me, Renee? Oh, I thought you had a question and then I didn't
Oh, I have
answer it
another
right
one
away.
then. If you've got different depths, would you do 12 o'clock depth here? I mean, you could
Yeah,
end,
yeah.
end up with like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, all different?
Probably not, but yeah.
Okay.
Would
In
undermine,
general,
If
it's
it's
gonna be about the
distinctly
same
deeper
depth.
on one side, then you
Right.
would want to do that.
undermining always begin with the edge of the wound.
Yes. So if I'm measuring, I measure back to the edge where it's intact. Other things that I'm gonna think about is smell, right? Is it really heavy odor? Is it very malodorous?
It's
Is
pretty
it,
subjective though, isn't it?
that's pretty subjective. Some wound clinicians, when they get really good at this, will peel that off and go, Pseudomonas.
Wow.
Well, yeah, numbers.
Wow, that's a lot of
Outpatient
experience.
clinic and they're not very clean and they come in, how do you know if that's gonna be the odor or if the client is gonna be the odor? You know, if it's, I
You
mean,
can usually
really,
tell
if it's gonna be
between
body
body
odor,
stink and
uh,
wound odor. That's two different odors. Body stink is definitely different than wound stink.
Oh, joy.
Yeah, that's the hardest thing for me, I think, is the smells usually.
Sorry if I'm interrupting.
What about just temperature? Like when you're
Just
documenting temperature
Foul smell.
around the wound,
I don't know if
how
I
would you
ever have.
document, like, would you just say
Cold,
cold, warm? I mean, you know,
warm, hot to touch.
okay.
And that, everyone's gonna know that that's in comparison to the other skin further away from it.
Well, then you're touching it, and then that means you're gonna have to use your non-sterile hand to touch and feel the temperature of the
Well, you'll be able to
skin.
feel it through the gloves.
Same as how you can
Yeah,
feel if
but
it's
that's,
tough.
that's gonna, yeah.
That's your
not sterile.
sacrificed hand.
Yeah, that's what I
It
said, you just use
wasn't,
your.
it wasn't sterile a long time ago though, remember,
Right.
because he.
I
So
know,
the
but I'm
top
just-
end of it's,
But
this
I'm just
end of
saying,
it's
if
still
you did that
sterile.
at the beginning, if you decide at the beginning, first thing I'm gonna do is touch it, then you've already,
I wouldn't
then you're
do
done.
that
Oh, you wouldn't do that?
I'd say that for the end. When I'm dressing his wound, probably. So I've talked about width, height, depth, undermining, tunneling. The other thing I need to do is talk about what my wound bed looks like, or what my edges look like.
Induration.
Are my edges macerated or indurated? Are they smooth? Are they jagged? Are they discolored? And then I got to start looking at the bottom, and I'm going to look at that bottom. I'm going to start guessing percentages. Okay, this one looks like, how much of that percentage is red?
58% or 60?
50 to
Okay, so
60%.
we'll go with 60s. We'll go with zeros and 5 numbers. So then what else do I see in there?
Yellow.
Slough,
Yellow slough, so what's that? What do you
about
think?
30.
probably 30%.
Okay, so now we're at 90%.
And
that
then
leaves
maybe
how much
10%
percent
to
for
bone.
They all have to add up to 100.
Is that the white, the
The
bone?
bone,
Yeah.
yeah, that's his sacrum.
60, 30, 10.
So as long as your numbers add up to 100 and you're pretty close, I haven't figured out what's what,
Would you say that's regular or irregular?
that edge.
Fairly regular, I think.
Regular, but it's pretty smooth.
Yes.
I don't know. It's pretty round.
Kind of roundish.
This one's a little bit worse.
Yeah.
It's a little more irregular, a little bit more discolored on the edge.
Okay.
So that one would be more regular, you think?
It's fairly regular. I mean, it's not perfectly round because of where it's at.
Right.
Different places, different pressure. This was caused by pressure and not by, like, diabetes. So you're gonna, some of the shape of it is purely related to where the pressure is being placed. And now, he's obviously got a problem with, maybe diarrhea or something, so I'm worried about getting bowel in there. And then I cover it up and now it's starting to get hot and sweaty, or he's laying there and it's sweaty, so I have to worry about urine, I have to worry about bowel, I have to worry about sweat, I have to worry about everything else getting into my wound. Okay, so what else? So we've talked color, we've talked size, shape, depth,
Odor.
exudate, so yeah, is there any drainage? What color's my drainage? What are some of my fun drainage colors? Purulence, one of my favorite. Cirrus sanguinis.
Ambiguous.
Sanguous is a different.
Yeah. It's two of those SER words.
Then
Serious.
could be clear,
Green.
Could be green, I mean, whatever, you just describe it. Purulent's a fine word for when it's got a bunch of pus in it.
Infection.
Serosanguinous is when it's kind of that yellowy, fluidy color, like 'cause you squeeze out of a scab or something. When it's kind of reddish, but it's a little, it's not blood, it's kind of that reddy yellow.
And sanguinous is just if
Is
it's pink
blood,
with
yeah,
the.
right, so this
And then,
sanguinous.
and then
then
purulence
serous
is that greenish
Serous
brown.
is the
Is the clear.
other fluid, yeah.
Is-
Serous is a clear fluid,
And the purulent is the greenish brownish.
pus colored, pus and blood.
That's what the book said, so I was checking.
Oh, they try not to use words like pus and blood. They try to be more political.
The book I know.
Don't you also want to know if it's soft or if it's hard?
Yeah, so I can
crunchy?
feel, is it a firm or is it real mushy feeling around the edge? Sometimes you can feel those edges and tell, oh my goodness, this wound probably really goes all the way back to here. Because it's real mushy and spongy right here. And so, a lot of times that, you'll get a wound that looks like this. And what grade wound is that? So it's unstageable, right? So it's a stage,
Definitely necrotic
it's
tissue.
stage unstageable. What stage is this one? So it's full depth, I can see bone. This, I don't know what it is, but a lot of times your wound nurse or someone, your PT that's done a lot of this, your PTA that's done a lot of this, to be able to say, oh yeah, everything's dead under there and it probably extends all the way back to here and I'm gonna end up with a hole this size instead of a hole this size.
So that would be the one like you would do a crisscross with a scaffold.
I might cut that up and then put something to break down
But if
that.
it's
Like,
soft
how
outside
deep-
of it, it's actually bad. That means it's probably got more damage, the soft.
Do you just like scratch it, or how deep would you
You
go?
score it.
with the
How do you
Yeah,
know
you
how
score it.
deep to score
Well,
it?
you don't want it to bleed, so if it starts to bleed, you stop. It's like scoring
So it's just
a loaf
like-
of bread, sometimes the
Okay.
crust is really thick and sometimes it's thin, you take a little cut and you look and, okay, it's deep enough.
Okay.
And there's,
Will we do that?
Do PTAs do that?
No, that's an
You're-
ST, well,
legally, in the state of Missouri, you're allowed to.
APTA.
The APTA frowns upon that
Because there's a sharp instrument
because
involved.
it involves sharps.
And you said if you wanted to do something like that, you need to get more training.
Probably it would be in your best interest. to
So
get more
don't have to
training.
worry about me.
Are there PTAs that get to do some sharp debridement in Missouri? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Is it a good idea? Sometimes, if they've had additional training and lots of experience and they have a lot of interaction with their PT. I mean,
I'm sure that there's not a lot of people